I see that we are live again. So then I was thinking, how did I myself develop a certain kind of a moral compass? And then I think it boils down to two things, nurture and nature. Obviously, you have your own personality, you have your own DNA, you have your own mindset, or either you're competitive or not competitive, etc., etc. Either you are more following the money or following the values. So that's your own part of your own DNA, part of your own genetics, part of your own personality, but also the environment I've been growing up. As I said before, I've been growing up in another part of Holland, in Friesland, between the farmers, etc., etc. So my family had also a certain kind of values and ethics, and I learned a lot. And so it's all about who are you yourself, and I think also the main question I also would ask you about how is your own moral compass? What is your own value system? One thing what I also was part of me is when you operate in different part of cultures, always stay your independent eye. The moment you fell into those kind of practices, what I just mentioned as examples, you're not independent anymore. And that's also was a very important driver. So apart from having my own value system, it was also about being an independent person, independent thinking. So ultimately, it's not about what you want to achieve, it's all about how you want to be as a person, how you relate to others. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Another question, I think.
Yes. Unfortunately, we have some issues with the questions that we'll be receiving, so I'll be asking the questions myself.
All right. Okay.
And thank you so much for your talk, first and foremost. It is very inspiring, and I hope you guys are inspired as well. One of my questions for you is that as you've said, you've spoken a lot about having international experience. What advice would you give to people or the students when they travel, how to interact with other cultures?
Yeah, no, that was exactly my question.
Oh, I'm really sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So shall we park that one, because otherwise I can also ask that question.
You can ask
Because
that question.
I thought that came after my talk. So
Okay.
so my question is about imagine that you will start working once you decided to start working for a company or for yourself, and you will be sent abroad to a completely different country, completely different culture, completely different environment on your own, and you want obviously to be successful. My question to you is, how would you start? How would you experience what are you going to do in the first 3 months of this assignment in a complete different culture, in a complete different environment, complete different people around you? How are you going to start in the first 3 months to be able to be successful? That would be my question.
Thank you. So as Mr. Bles said, please think about it, and we'll get back to you at the end of the session. In the meantime, luckily, our wonderful team has got the questions up and running. So this is the part where we answer the college tour. It's actually called a college tour because it's a Dutch TV show where the audience gets to ask questions to important, inspiring, and famous people. So one question from Greece is, are business ethics important for profitability?
Absolutely. And it's all about the long term. Ultimately, as a person or as a company, you start relating to an ecosystem. An ecosystem are different stakeholders, and to have a sustainable business, you need to develop sustainable business relationships. So having business ethics are extremely important, and that boils down again to not about the what, but how to relate to each other. The moment that that is righteous, that is solid, that is healthy, and that's based on long term, ultimately profit will come as well. So for the long term profitability development, it is very important.
Okay, thank you so much. A second question. Please share with us a useful piece of advice for young people that want to set up their company's culture.
For young people to set up their company culture, is that a question?
Yes.
Yeah, a very good question. I think later on we also are going to talk about purpose-driven companies. I believe that you will ask also more about purpose.
Yes.
So there are a couple of questions I would say you should ask yourself before you're going to start up a new company. And I think that once you start up a new company, it will be based on where's your passion and where are yourself good in. So once you have figured out that, say, this is the company I want to set up. It has to deal with culture. And there are two very important questions. First is about why. Why do I set up this company? What's the purpose? How can I contribute to a greater thing than only making profit? Profit is only a means to an end. It means to develop your own set of beings. So what's the why question? And what kind of issue or what kind of problem can you solve in the world? So the why question is very important. It's an extremely important element to get that right, the why question, and not the what question. But also, once you have answered that, so what kind of issue, what kind of problem I can solve in the world, in the planet, or whatever it is, then that starts the whole setup of your whole strategy. But that's one thing. The second element, say, is your value set. What kind of values is important to you? What kind of values you think it is very important for this company? So once you have defined the why, and once you have defined the values, three values, then you can collect the right people in your company. You can relate with different business partners that can strengthen the why and then can team up with also the values. And that forms the culture. Culture is set by a set of people and a set of values. So that would be my advice. Think about the why and think clearly about the values.
Okay, thank you so much. The why and the values.
Yeah.
Which I was wondering, when we talk about independence, and we said that when we're looking at traveling or interacting with other cultures, it's very important to be independent. How do you ensure your independence in a situation that doesn't always that doesn't support that? Because that's always the struggle. How do you handle tough situations?
Yeah. And what I mean by independence is that you're not dependent in a negative way, that you can keep up with your own value system. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean by the independent me or I. And so it is extremely important to stick to your own value system. And but it is not always easy. And what I have learned is that how to deal with difficult situations is through humor. And humor is a very important element how to deal with different challenges. because you're dealing with different person in different culture, different value set, different practices. What we say it is, let's use the word corruption. The other party said, well, no, it's not about corruption. I give something and I take something, and I do something for you, you do something for me, and that's the way we do our practice over here. But I say, no, that's not my practice, because I have my behavior set and my values. So there can be some dilemmas here and there. But ultimately, what I have experienced is always have respect for the other party. Always, no matter what, no matter who. Always try to have deep respect, although you might not agree with the other party, but always express respect. And when the tension becomes, try to have some humor in it. And humor, there's a lot. My father told me, I told him I can laugh in every language. Laugh, laugh can be smile, but laugh can be also another element. But I can laugh in every language. So that's the secret, I think.
Okay. Speaking of laughing and using humor,
Yeah.
can you give us examples of ethical dilemmas that you faced where you've used humor to?
Yeah, it's just a very small element, but I've been in countries where there were a lot of roadblocks and police, and every 10 kilometers you stopped again, and obviously the police in that particular country didn't earn a thing, and obviously they want to earn a little bit money, which I can understand completely. But sometimes the tensions are very much because sometimes they are not completely 100% sober anymore. Let me put it like that, and then it can be very tense into a certain moment when you're stopped by the police. But then once you use humor, and then it breaks the ice and says, let's go on. This. So it's just a little example what I can think about now, but it also in other elements, but also in business talks, in very important business talks. The moment there is humor, the moment somebody comes in with a laugh, like what Hilke was doing just now with a laugh, and then immediately it breaks the ice and you have contact. That's the simple thing. What can break, what can add value to a relationship.
Okay. Thank you for mentioning that. And also, which leads me to, you spoke about values and figuring out your why. Now, I want to know, how did you figure out your values, and how did you go about
the why?
The why.
No, that's thank you, because once when I was working for Bles and Campina, for the multinational dairy company abroad, I always had a dream about setting up my own restaurant. And so when I came back a couple of years ago from Vietnam, I started looking for as a hobby. So where can I put my own restaurant? And then there was an opportunity to buy a farmer place, and I bought that farmer place. And then I started thinking, what kind of business I'm going to set up. So first I was thinking about the why. And so when I came back after 20 years spending outside Holland, when I came back to Holland, I was surprised about the tension between farmers and the public. Do farmers understand the public, and the public, do they understand the farmers? And how can I bridge the two? So how can I strengthen the relationship between the farmers that produce our food and the consumers that consume our food? And how can I strengthen that relationship? So that became a purpose. And then I was thinking about how to set up the values. And values of your own company is very much related with my person, how I am myself. And I like transparency. I like openness. I like about let's talk with each other instead of about each other. When we have an issue, we talk with each other.
Yeah.
When I have an issue with you, I'm not going to talk to Joshua now, or I have something with Hilke and I say something to you. No, I go straight to Hilke or I go straight to Stuart. So I like that's transparency. I also like that we think in terms of we instead of I, and that's what I learned in Africa. And in Africa, it's called Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is it's a wisdom that always thinks about we instead of I. The group is more important than an individual. And so when we talk about Omkion, we talk about we as Omkion, not about me as an owner, and not Jeff or whatever it is. We talk about we. And the third element was pleasure. So as an owner of a company, I can facilitate. That employees, and in the summer period we have 40 employees, and in the winter period we have about 10 employees. But they come with pleasure to our restaurant, because once they come with pleasure, they can also give pleasure. So, and I also like a pleasure in a relationship, in business relationship, that it is nice to deal with. I don't like to deal with people or a business that is struggling and that try to squeeze you and there's no fun in it. I like fun, and so it's an extension of myself. But just to give you an example, how I came to a purpose and how I came to a value set.
Okay. Oof, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, but good stuff. And Spain, luckily, has a question for you as well. Have you ever worked in the American continent, North or South America? And if not, do you fancy in doing so?
If I ever worked in North or South America?
Yes.
My ex is a Peruvian. So I went lots of times to South America. So I have a lot of warm connections, and still we're going fine. So that's beautiful. So I spent a lot of time in South America. I also traveled 1 year around South America, and also worked in South America. And I studied in America. I did the Erasmus University, and they had a link with one of the universities in America. So yeah, I spent a lot of time in North and South America.
Okay.
If that's the question. But my question would be, why do you ask that?
We'll have to ask them that.
Yeah.
They can.
So
please, guys, let us know.
Let us know. Why do you ask that?
Let us know. Lithuania asked, did you love what you do? Or do you love what you do?
Do I love what I do? Yes. Yes. Obviously,
That's a strong yes.
Yes, I love, and that reminds me what is about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, when he was imprisoned on Robben Island, he had a poem, and the poem, I forgot the name of the poem, but it said, "You are a master of your own mind. They can take away my freedom, but they cannot take away my mind." So what he did early in the morning at 4 o'clock, before, let's say, the people from the prison would wake him up, he was already awake. Mm-hmm. He already put his bed in order. So with that, he said, "I'm a master of my own mind." So, and that is also related to your question. You're a master of your own mind. So obviously, I have difficult times in business and in private times, and obviously, it was not always on roses, and it was not always lovely. I had my deepest periods as well. But ultimately, it's always about my own mindset. Mm-hmm. How do I relate to a problem? How do I relate to a person? If there's a mean person, am I affected by it? or do I go in a mindful set? Okay, that's your person. I will not be affected by it, and it's all triggered by your own mind. Um, so your own mindset is such an important element in how you feel and what you love doing, and ultimately is discover where your passion is. This really, and I have also a daughter. She's 19 years old, and she did the middelbare school was the high school, and she didn't know what to do. Like a lot of students, they struggle with the question. I don't know. I really don't know. So I said to my daughter, Talia is her name. It's a Greek name, by the way. Are the Greeks also in the
Yes,
room?
they are.
Talia. That's my daughter's name. And I said, you know what we do? You just write down the elements what you like. Don't think about the future. Just don't think about it. Don't morning and you see something on TV or on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. What are the things what you like? Yeah, and after 1 week or 2 weeks, they say, okay, and now we're going to now. So there's a whole exercise, and ultimately, it boils down that she wanted to make documentaries. So she's interested in people, interested in stories, and interested in film. So all right, those are the elements. It's I would really challenge you all. You're now in I would say in the early spring of your career, I believe. I'm already in the end of autumn, winter, Hilke, something like that.
Still evergreen.
Still, but once you start follow really where your heart is, where your enthusiasm is. Also a beautiful Greek word, by the way, enthusiasm. And also where you think that's where I'm good in, and focus on that. The rest will come. The rest will come.
The rest will come. So let it go, and the rest will come.
Yeah, but find out that's not always easy.
No.
Because you're always thinking about, can I earn enough money? No, forget about that. Forget about money. Is there work? Forget about it. Forget about the work. But that person, if I do this study, then I will become this. But I don't like that. So it's all about those kind of things. Don't forget about it. Forget about it. It's all about what is your passion, and what you really like to do, and then go
for it. Okay, we got a response from Spain from your earlier question. They gave us a little bit of context.
All right.
They asked because regarding your professional experience working in North and South America, so they want to know if you have any professional experience.
I have private and professional experience.
Okay. And well, a question that came to mind is you have worked in various countries, correct?
Yeah.
How do you have to adapt, change yourself to the working environments and the cultures?
Now that's is also part of my question to the students. So I really would like to know also what will be the answer, because I can start something, but then I already give an answer.
Can you rephrase that for people who came in later on?
Sorry?
Can you rephrase the question of you?
Okay, my question to you all is, imagine that once you start working and that you will be sent or you will work abroad in a place with completely different culture. You don't know anybody, it's completely different from what you experience yourself. And you want to be successful after a couple of years. How would you start? How would be the first 3 months of your starting life over there? How would that be to be able to successful in that country?
Okay, you heard it, folks. Please let us know. And in the meantime, Spain also has another question. Which advice would you give people to learn the different points of views of the ethics values around the world?
What would be advice for those who abuse ethical values?
No.
Oh,
What advice would you give to people to learn different perspectives in regards to ethical values? Because ethical values has a lot of various perspectives,
yeah,
correct?
yeah.
So what advice would you give to students, some tips to open mind maybe, or whatever that may be, to help them to understand, to be more open-minded, if I'm not mistaking the question?
Okay.
Which advice would you give people to learn the different points of view of the ethical values around the world?
A different point of view on that. Now, yeah, I mean, the way I understand the question is, yes, there are different point of view related to ethical. What we believe ethical could be completely different from doing ethical business in other parts. It's partly culture. There are three words that comes in my mind. Is listen, but really listen to that other person with a different opinion, with a different mindset, with a different opinion about what's ethical. Listen, try to understand, truly try to understand, and be curious. Be very curious. And the third thing is respect. And the word respect is very important. And one should try to really understand without having the perception, let's say, without having, okay, he or she is coming from that part of the world. Okay, that means, once you know that, so try to be objective. So listen, understand, have respect and curiosity, and then to see, okay, maybe it boils down that you mean the same, but the words are different. Could well be. So that's, I would say, how to deal with different meanings of ethical entrepreneurship.
Okay, thank you so much. One question I have for you is, being an ethical entrepreneur is not easy.
No.
So what challenges have you faced, and how have you overcome them, and what values or what has kept you going through this process?
It hasn't been easy because of myself. Because it's very important to also realize yourself that, okay, I'm sitting now here, I'm talking about ethical entrepreneurship, but every time I also have to look at my own mirror. So, okay, am I right? Was I right? And I'm also not completely complete, and also not, let's say, always right. So I also want to be vulnerable in this same topic. And I also talk about different people saying, this is what I've done. What do you think? Have I been really ethical, or was it? I mean, I know my pitfalls as well. One of my pitfalls is that I'm very competitive. So because I'm very competitive, I can sometimes go too strong.
Just run into it.
Run it to the target. So the difficult, I think, is and also don't think it's not about me. It's not. Don't think that I am already there. No, I still learn, and I want to be vulnerable in that area.
Which is important.
Yeah.
Starting your own local restaurant. What are some of the challenges that you have faced, and what do you think are some key requirements or advice you would give to students who want to start up their own business?
Now, we all know in what situation we are in the the lockdown and the restaurant
not right
business.
now, in the near future.
No, but also how to deal with uncertainties, how to deal with setbacks, how to deal with lockdowns, how to deal with this environment we are at this moment in, and especially it's my own restaurant, it's my own money, and I want to keep my employees. My first thing is about the employees to stay, for them to stay on board because their families depend on the income of the restaurant. And and that's again a mindset. I can, in Dutch they call it huilen met de wolven, they howl with the wolves. So there's a lot of negativity around, a lot of polarization around, a lot of discussions around, a lot of this, and everybody has an opinion about that. But at a certain moment you can also go, okay, this is what I can do. This is what are the things I can change. I cannot change the policy of the cabinet or the government. You can agree with it, you can disagree with it, you can say something about it. There's no, but ultimately I have a business to run, and our mindset, if we focus on the things what we can do, and in Chinese, do we have also Asians in the group or not? No. So
For me,
you know what crisis means in China?
No. No.
Opportunity. So maybe there's also opportunities. You see a lot of restaurant business go into the delivery and we have also developed something around that area. So there will be also opportunities, but it's all about the mindset. Think about opportunities, how to deal with challenges, have a positive mindset, and keep it fun, guys. Keep it fun, and have respect about everybody's opinion.
okay. Last question, maybe second last. We don't know yet. But one question I have for you is, right now you're the strategic senior advisor for a family-owned dairy company, and you're shifting it. One of your aims is to shift it from being profit-driven to purpose-driven.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you faced, and how are you trying to? What is that struggle like?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you for raising that question. And it's not only this family company. A lot of companies that already exist for many years that wants to become from profit to a purpose driven face the same challenges, because it's easier to set up a new company that is purpose driven than to change an existing company from more profit driven to a purpose driven. That's every existing company deals with that, whether the Unilevers, the Danones, the Nestle's, every company. Yes, it looks beautiful on the website, the sustainability report, but ultimately, if you go deep inside the culture, then they are struggling as well. And why do they struggle? Because we have all learned at university, all the MBA students, all the business students have learned about maximize shareholder wealth. And everything is set around that. The P&L systems are based on that. Those who started 60 years ago, the business, were very much profit oriented. But nowadays, we see that there's a flip coin. There's a tipping point that goes from profit to purpose. But how to do that? The challenge what I have is the existing culture and the existing mindset. But we need to make profit. Okay, what I said, yes. And the profit is a mean to achieve a goal. But how much profit? What is the right level of profit is the question. Do I want to have more? And I see in the world that where it is a company, where it is people, where it is whatever, greed is not good for the planet. It's not good for the so having more is not good. But it was the right level. And ultimately, it starts with leadership, with courageous leadership. And courageous leadership means that do you have the courage to say, okay, this is a problem in the world. For example, in the food industry, malnutrition is a big problem in the world. Malnutrition on both sides. It can be obese persons. Malnutrition in the world can also be suffering from hunger. Now that's a big problem, and the food companies can say, okay, what can we do to find solutions to overcome this problem? And that's the heart of, that's not a company is in the middle of it, but it's purpose in the middle of it. And then our business is one of the stakeholders in this ecosystem. And there are different stakeholders. For example, you can collaborate with UNICEF, just one thing. But the challenge is a courage to put the purpose in the middle instead of profit and business in the middle. And to trust that once you put the purpose in the middle, that ultimately on the long term, the company is doing well. And value doesn't mean money. Value means also other set of values. So that's the challenge. The challenge is to see how to change this culture. It starts primarily with the owners, with the family. Do they want it? And now what I see is we're going to set up a group, we call the group of yonkies, young people, millennials, that also say, I'm joining this company because, oh, you do something good, because you provide nutrition to the world. That's good. That's why I joined the company. And once they join the company, they say, but I don't see this. It's all trading. So what I thought, okay, this is a very strong group because they are future leaders. They are our talents. Why we're not going to form a group of young people that are going to challenge the traditional thinkers. So then from the owner itself and from the young people, let's say there will be a transition. And then we have to be realistic as well. It goes step by step. It's not that in 1 year time we go completely from, let's say, profit-driven or from a traditional driven organization to a purpose-driven organization. So it goes step by step.
Step by step.
Yeah.
And the young generation are the key.
And I think, yes, I'm always very happy to work with young people because I can also learn from them how they see it. And I think you have a great responsibility, I would say, in also changing the mindset of existing business.
No pressure. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Bles.
Welcome.
You asked a question earlier to the guys,
Yeah.
and we have the answers in.
All right.
So from Lithuania, their answer is, first, I think you need to like and love what you do, and then it does not matter how difficult. One day succeeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the second one is, to answer your question, we would study and learn from the native people that work in our sector, learn about the culture, language, and watching, listening and respecting the way they do, how they do things.
Yeah, and that is both are great answers. Thank you for that, because if you don't like what you do, yes, you don't accelerate enthusiasm. So you need to like what you're doing and like to go to that place. And the second one is also it starts with that curious mind. A child is very curious. A child is always asking, "Oh, how's that? How's that? How's that?" So if you have that kind of mindset, I want to know how you think. Tell me a little bit more about it. And the first 3 months, try to understand how it works. Try to understand the people. Ask questions and questions and questions, and really try to understand. The moment you do that for 3 months with different people, the people who are in that country or work in that they also start liking you. There can be a relation because I'm interested in you. He doesn't have a predetermined mind already. No, so having a curious mindset, a childish curious mindset, and try to understand and try to listen is a very important one. But it's already something that starts before. before you go there and know yourself. Because when I ask the group, what comes in your mind when you think about, I just at random, Russia, what comes in your mind? What comes in your mind when I talk about Africa? Certain things come in your mind. China or Friesland. There's certain things, when I talk about Friesland, there's something in your mind, isn't it? What comes up in your mind, Chelsea?
Dairy.
So, yeah.
It's good dairy.
No, but you have a certain kind of mindset,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong about that. But before you go to a country or a company, realize what kind of mindset, what kind of perception you have.
Mm-hmm.
And only by realizing that you don't fall into the trap that your own perception is the truth. So, okay, this is my perception. All right, can be good, it can be not good. So okay, I try to park it. You can't park it, but realizing that you have it, that's a starting point. And then try to and what I always do is try to connect with one of the local leaders,
Mm-hmm.
and to form a bond with a leader, whether it is in Vietnam or Indonesia or all the places where I have worked. I try what's the person that I want to give trust completely.
Mm-hmm.
I completely give trust. This is the way I think. How can we translate it in this culture? There will be a bond. But I don't know this culture, but I know what we want. We need to increase our market share from X to Y. We need to these are our targets.
Mm-hmm.
But how to do that? I need you. I need you. But we can do it together. So that's a little bit how I have done it.
How you work.
Yeah. So that will be the first 3 months. Be curious, ask a lot of questions, try to understand, and try to figure out in a company who's the leader. Who's the leader I want to build a trustworthy relationship with? Who is it? And after 3 months, you know a little bit. Unless you are completely
Blinders.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your inspiring talk. Lithuania also thanks you. They say it's very interesting. And thank you guys so much for joining us and to listening to Mr. Bles and his inspiring, incredible story. I will come back and check this out myself later. And if you have any questions, please send us via email. Our team will drop the email in the chat box. So if you have any questions, send it in and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And for future ET talks, please look forward. Please like, share, subscribe to this channel. Excuse me. And have a great day. And Mr. Bles, once again, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much as well. And thank you as well, listeners and viewers. Great questions. Thank you all, and good luck with everything in your life.